Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Justin.
Bryce.
And we are JB Reviews. Today, we are going to talk about the Karate Kid movies 1, 2, and 3. So you're going to want to stay tuned. It's coming up next. Okay, so in the Karate Kid Part 1, we meet the character Daniel LaRusso and his mom. Do you remember his mom's name? I just know her as Mrs. LaRusso.
All I know is she had like that 80s hair.
She had that 80s hairdo. So anyways, it starts off with Daniel moving from Newark, New Jersey, cross country to California. So, and Daniel in the movie, I want to say he's probably 16 or 17 years old. So, it's really got to be tough that late into your school years to, if you really had a movie like that, that's going to be tough. You know?
Yeah, so what happens was he moves into the apartment complex.
Sorry guys,
he meets this kid named Freddie, I think. He invites him over to a beach party. So like they're playing soccer, big montage music.
Yes.
And then he finds this girl named Allie Mills. Allie with a I think.
So this is the first time that we meet Allie, right? Daniel goes to this party with Freddie. I think his name was Freddie. Go ahead and comment down below, guys, if it wasn't Freddie, but I think it was Freddie. So anyways, and a funny thing, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. I actually saw an interview with Elizabeth Shue, and she said that in real life, she was actually a very, very good soccer player. I don't know if you guys knew that. So it was hard for her to make out like she was terrible. But I guess I just want to throw that in there. She said she was actually a very good soccer player. But like what Bryce said, we actually, the first time Daniel and Allie, we see them together, right? So you can kind of tell, like, when the scene started, you know where this is going, right? You know that he's going to go talk to the girl.
And then, this guy named Johnny Lawrence.
And his hoodlums, we call them his biker buddies.
The four fools.
We see them coming up on their dirt bikes and they come riding down, right? And it looks like you could tell that Johnny and Allie must have had a history, because you see Johnny go ahead and saying, "I just want to talk to you," and he grabs a radio, right, or something like that, and throws it. And Daniel at first doesn't know if he should get involved, but then of course Hollywood steps in, right? So he, he figures he better get involved.
He gets his butt beat right off the bat.
They exchange some words. Long story short, like Bryce said, there's a fight that happens, right? So Daniel gets his ass handed to him, right there, in front of this girl.
Good thing she still liked him though.
Yeah, she still liked him because she thought that Johnny was a jerk. So then so long story short, just to kind of to move it along, we go in and then I think Daniel hides a black eye from his mother.
Yeah, with the glasses on.
He's got the glasses and the mom says something like, "Oh, where's your baby browns? Let me see your baby browns." And he's afraid to show her first, and then he does, and she goes, "Oh my God," and she freaks out.
Yeah, like any mother would.
So long story short, not to backtrack too much, but when Daniel first moved in, we end up seeing Mr. Miyagi for the first time. I think the faucet was leaking.
Yeah.
And she said, "I think there's a maintenance guy that if you go let him know that our faucet's leaking." So it's the first time we meet Miyagi, and at first Daniel's thinking, this guy's kind of strange. And then, of course, once we watch the movie, we realize that this guy is a karate expert.
Because he's fixing the faucet while he's doing like karate moves, and he's like, "What happened to I?" And he's like, "I fell off my bike." And he said, "No scratches on your hands." It's just like that.
You could tell that Miyagi didn't believe him, right?
Yeah. Oh my.
So long story short, so Mr. Miyagi, I think he has a sense of what this kid Daniel's going through, right? That he's being bullied because you can see he's getting beat up and whatnot. And the final straw was after that party, the Halloween party, where some of you might think that Daniel asked for it, right? Putting the faucet on him when he was, rolling that illegal thing. So he was asking for it, right? So they end up chasing Daniel. I believe he rolls down the hill, and then the Cobra Kai kids, they pick him up and they hold him and they beat the crap out of him, and then we see a silhouette
dressed up as skeletons.
How many of you guys actually looked this year for those skeleton costumes? I wish we could have found them. So then we see, so in other words, when they're holding Daniel up, right, and he's kind of like this, we see Mr. Miyagi come out of nowhere, right, and he whips everybody's ass, right? So that was kind of the beginning part of the relationship between Miyagi and Daniel, because he takes Daniel under his wing and he teaches him the karate, right?
Then he slowly by surely, a couple of months go by, and then they go to their dojo, where you meet the character John Kreese.
John Kreese, and you could tell right off the bat that this guy, excuse my language, is an asshole, right?
In my opinion, I think he's the real villain. Not Daniel, not Johnny, not Ali, not whoever you want. I think Kreese is the bad guy.
Yeah, right, because Kreese has these guys brainwashed, right? So
yeah.
So basically, Miyagi and Daniel, they go to the dojo because they want to let Kreese know, hey, we don't think it's fair. There's too much advantage with your dojo, and there's only one kid here, so can you please leave him alone? And basically, Kreese comes down to, well, what do you want to do, old man? What are you gonna do? And he basically, there's a tournament poster.
Like the poster's like right here.
Poster's hanging up behind him, and he says, let's deal with it at the tournament. So Kreese, of course, laughs and says, you know what? No problem. So he tells the kids in the dojo, all right, leave Cinderella alone. One of my favorite. Leave Cinderella. Nobody touches that Cinderella. So basically, that's the beginning of Miyagi and Daniel training for karate. And of course, at first, Daniel thinks it's all going to be kicking and punching, right? But Mr. Miyagi, we find out, has a different technique. Different strategy teaching karate. Everybody knows the wax on, wax off, and painting the house or side to side and up and down with the fence.
Yeah.
And of course, Daniel doesn't see it at first.
That was funny when he went fishing, and then Daniel was there. And there was a note saying, "Paint whole house by the time I get back."
Yeah, and of course Daniel says, "Hey, I'm nothing but your slave." But then of course Miyagi takes him aside and kind of shows him with realistically throwing punches at him, like show me sand on the floor, and it all fits into how you block.
And then they go to the beach, I believe.
Yeah, they do some training on the beach.
That's when you see what's his name, Miyagi do that kick.
That's the first time that crane kick is. That's the first time we see that crane kick. So, and then which leads into some pretty good emotional parts in there too.
With
just
Ali and
Daniel and Miyagi, just that bonding.
Kind of filler.
Yeah, some fillers, which leads us into the under 18 Valley tournament at the end, where of course Daniel does become victorious at the end. He hits Johnny with that crane kick. So then what we do is, of course, at the end it shows Miyagi happy and Daniel happy.
Johnny was like, "You're alright, LaRusso."
Yeah, we see him kind of share that moment. Yeah. And then so then when we go into Friday. Sorry guys, I'm not Friday. When we go into the Karate Kid Part 2.
And it starts off with them in the parking lot. Kreese is like so mad. Like if you say one thing to him, you're gonna get your butt beat. And so then Johnny's like, "I did it right." And then he said, second place is like not first place or something. And
he breaks the trophy and he throws the trophy, right?
Choking him. How's second place feel now?
And then of course we see the infamous we see the two fists up, right? And he goes to punch Miyagi and he moves out of the way and he kind of looks at his fist like, what the? And he throws it again, and then we see the iconic where Miyagi grabs him and says, something along the lines of,
is for the weak, and he does.
And he comes and he kind of honks his nose, right? So then we go into the second movie. Now the second movie, I do like it, but me and Bryce both agreed when we saw it. It's a little slow. It's not. It doesn't seem like it has quite the action that the first one did. It's a little bit more in depth. So in part 2, we realize that Miyagi's father has fallen ill. So him and Daniel decide that they're going to go to Okinawa and spend Miyagi's father's last days with him. And of course, when he gets over there, just like Ali with an eye from the first one, part 2, Daniel, of course, now there's a new girl. I forget her name.
It was like
Kamikiko or something like that.
Yeah, but with this, Ali broke up with him.
Yeah, Ali, I think that we just went off to college or something.
Yeah, he broke his car, and then dated this football player, UCLA
that's right.
player.
That's right. He says something along the lines of Ali ran off with the high school jock or something like that.
Yeah.
She totaled my car and took off with the guy or something like that.
At least you just pay for it. Do something.
So in part 2, we have a villain like we did in the first one. The second one, we have Chosen, which is Miyagi's nephew or something like
Wait,
that.
what's the guy's name? What's the uncle's name?
I forget what the uncle's name is. If you guys know him from part 2, go ahead and put it in the comments.
It starts with an S. It's on like the tip of my tongue.
But anyways, the uncle kind of starts off being a jerk, we'll say, to Miyagi. Him and Chosen are kind of against Miyagi because he wants to have a fight with Miyagi. But of course, as the movie goes on, once the hurricane scene hits, you'll see that Miyagi actually saves his uncle, his brother, whatever he was, his life, and of course...
And then Daniel climbs up this big ladder to save this girl, but Chosen's there, like, in the shaft with all of them. And And then Chosen was like, I thought you were dead. And then he says, you're dead to me.
You're dead to me. And then from there on out to the rest of the movie, you kind of see that Chosen was really was the bad guy, right? Was the true villain. So, which leads us to the final dance scene, I guess you call it, where Kamika.
They were like all dancing.
They were dancing, and of course, from the zip line from above, we see Chosen coming in, and all those paper lanterns will just kind of shatter until he lands, and then, of course, he calls Daniel out, and so Daniel goes out, and of course, they throw the drawbridge off, so there's no way out. Basically, you have to die to get off, right?
Yeah.
So they have this fight, and of course, Daniel tries the crane kick, which Chosen sees coming from a mile away, blocks it.
He saw the movie somehow.
Yeah, he must have seen the movie somehow. The finishing move in that movie was kind of like some kind of side to side. I don't understand that. Maybe you guys do.
They were doing the drum thing, and he was like, Wah!
Yeah, it's almost like they're like playing patty cake or something, So.
And then he was like, live or die, man, live or die.
And he says die. And then he goes wrong.
And then
like honk.
They were foreshadowing it.
Yeah. Which leads us into in the beginning of the Karate Kid 3.
In the final.
Is the final one. Actually, they did make a Karate Kid 4, which is coming on Netflix, I heard. I don't know if you heard.
I saw it.
It's supposed to come with Hilary Swank. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think if you've seen it. So we meet John Kreese is back, right? It's kind of reminds you of the first Karate Kid. So John Kreese comes back, and you see that he's kind of washed up. Cobra Kai's dead.
Because what they saw, him and his friends left.
Yeah, everybody's kind of left Kreese, right? Because they realize, hey, this guy's really a maniac. He's crazy. Yeah. So we end up meeting the character of Terry Silver. So John Kreese basically goes to Terry Silver's house to turn in, I think, his keys, and he tells him he's going to pay him all the back rent and all that type of stuff. So, and he says more along the lines of, I'm done, I'll pay you what I owe you. And Terry Silver, you could tell he's a millionaire, tells him, you're wrong, Johnny. I'm going to put you back in business or something like that.
And he gave him the money because he saved his life in the war or something.
Yeah, he saved his life in the war, so he says, I owe you forever. Yeah, I'll never pay you back. So he ends up buying Kreese 20 new locations of Cobra Kai.
And he brings him to this trip, and then this is funny. He says, who's this guy, Miyagi?
Yeah, the way I think that Silver, I get a kick out of the way he acts. Thomas Ian Griffith, I believe, is his name that played him.
And so Kreese goes into the airport, but there comes Daniel and Miyagi coming out.
So the beginning of it, right, you have Kreese coming in one way, and then you have Miyagi and Daniel's son coming back from Okinawa coming this way.
Daniel's son.
Because Terry Silver just dropped off Kreese, and Miyagi and Daniel are just coming back from Okinawa. And then part 3 leads into, so Daniel and Mr. Miyagi get back from Okinawa, and Daniel, we see that he's getting ready for college.
But he spent all his money to go to Okinawa.
But he's kind of a little short on cash because, he didn't expect to go with Mr. Miyagi, but it all works out. So long story short, he ends up taking his last bit of his college money, cashes it in to buy a bonsai shop for Mr. Miyagi because he feels that that's Mr. Miyagi's dream, and why not do something good for Mr. Miyagi?
That wasn't a good idea.
And we find out later on, I don't want to jump ahead if you guys, and we're going to do a review on this, if you guys happen to follow the new series Cobra Kai, Daniel kind of goes back and talks about how that later in life was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So Terry Silver decides that the only way that he can get back at Daniel is he needs somehow to go find a way to get back to the tournament and win back that title. So what does he do? He finds good old Mike Barnes.
A hitman kind of, but not killing.
A karate hitman, if you will. Basically, him and these 2 other guys, Snakes and I forget the other guy's name.
I don't think they really mentioned him.
They didn't really mention
He's kind of an extra.
He's kind of an extra. Their job is to basically go around and torment Daniel until he decides that he is going to sign the contract to enter back into the tournament, because Cobra Kai wants that title back. So all through the movie, we see these three guys. We see Mike Barnes, Snakes, and this other guy, Dennis, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Show up, and of course Daniel at first is adamant, I'm not signing it, I'm not signing, I'm not going back, I have nothing to defend. Long story short, they basically torment him to the point where they were going, him and the girl that you met, I forget her name. They go down to get I guess Mr. Miyagi had like the secret bonsai tree that was like the bonsais of all of them, that they wanted to go down the cliff and dig it up. So these three hoodlums, I'm going to call them Barnes, Dennis, and Snake, show up, and they pull the ropes up. Long story short there, the only way he's going to get the ropes back down is if they sign the contract, which he does. So then when he gets back and tells Miyagi what happened, Miyagi understands that he had to make he had to make the decision on the spot. But what Miyagi doesn't agree to do at first is he does not want to train him. So what does Daniel do? He joins Cobra Kai because Terry Silver, we learn, has not been honest with Daniel. He wants Daniel to think that he's his friend, but really what he's doing is he's teaching him pain and payback. So we see Daniel starting to train with Terry Silver, but it's not the kind of training that Miyagi does. We find out that it's a lot more physical.
It's like what Johnny and his friends were doing in the first one.
It's really overboard, like breaking boards.
Yeah.
And
putting his face over the board, punching it.
Punching it until he bleeds, telling him, blood, so what, pretend it's his. So Daniel, of course, is getting beat up, and he's sneaking home, and Miyagi shows Miyagi kind of watching him.
Yeah.
He knows there's something up, and Miyagi, I think, starts to feel that, I gotta help him. I gotta help Daniel. So, of course, Daniel goes back to confront Terry, that he doesn't want to train him anymore. And, of course, Terry all of a sudden turns and tells him that he's going to have to pay for what he does. And Daniel comes along the lines of, I thought this was free. And he tells him nothing in life is ever free. So we go to find out that Terry Silver and Mike Barnes and Kreese have all been working together to get back at Daniel. So, long story short there, Mike Barnes and Terry Silver and Kreese train. Miyagi, of course, and Daniel go back to their training, which leads us back up to the All Valley Under 18 tournament.
Yep.
Which I actually think that Mike Barnes he did great. He really looked tough there. He looked a lot more intimidating than some of the other guys have.
At least Johnny bowed. He was like.
He was cocky, right, guys? Mike Barnes was cocky.
I know Johnny was like.
Yeah.
At least it's a bow.
Yeah, he just kind of like the quick. I said bow.
That's what Johnny does. He's like just here like this, like barely moving his head, like bow.
Yeah. And of course, the strategy that Terry and John Kreese have for Mike Barnes is you win a point, you lose a point. In other words, they want him to feel pain, right? You earn a point, but then get disqualified by losing a point by maybe punching him in the face or doing something that you shouldn't. So, of course, it goes back and forth until at the very end, of course, Daniel wants to quit, and Miyagi tells him, you need to focus. And, of course, it ends up with that Hollywood ending, and it ends up with Daniel winning.
You, body slammed him, or something grabbed him, slammed him.
Yeah.
Hit him.
And then kind of that, right across the back. So, but so really, in all honesty, I know part 3 gets a lot of bad rap, but I actually like part 3. Part 1's probably the best one, I think.
Yeah, it goes part 1, part 3, and maybe part 2.
Part 2, it's good acting, but it's just really
And part 4 is last because it looks really bad.
I actually didn't. Bryce hasn't seen it yet, but I didn't think it was really too bad. It's like I said, it's with Hilary Swank. Kind of the same idea as he did with Daniel. He kind of does with her.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie in years. Maybe at some point we could take a look at that and do a review on that. But other than that, guys, like we said, we're going to be doing a Cobra Kai series review. But we wanted to go ahead and we wanted to do this Karate Kid one first because I've always liked the Karate Kid, and now I'm getting Bryce introduced to it. And of course, Cobra Kai it's kind of like a spin-off, I guess, if you will, of the franchise, the Karate Kid. But we find out in that it's not really all about Daniel. It's more about how much like
Johnny.
bad things Johnny has had in his
He
life,
suffered from that.
and how he suffered and he turned into an alcoholic, and you know, that sort of thing. So make sure you guys go ahead and you stay tuned for that. But that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. Hit that bell notification for more movies like
smash that bell.
Yeah, smash like karate, like yeah. So go ahead and smash a karate chop. We should say
Karate chop.
That
the bell.
That bell notification, so you know every time we upload. And of course, we're coming into the holiday season, so we're gonna actually hopefully do some holiday movies too. Some of our favorite ones, so that'll be good. But that's it, guys. Unless you have anything else.
Nope.
I don't. I am good. And again, I'm Justin.
Bryce.
And that's it. So stay tuned or take care until the next time. And take care of one another.
Bye.
See ya.